Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if this is your first time here. So this is going to be a love and spirituality reading for earth signs, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus. And I'll also be doing an extended video to go along with this one. So I'll leave a link to that in the description box down below. All right, earth signs. So let's jump right into it. Usually I do a past, present, future spread for these element readings. But today I'm just going to do it differently. I'm just going to do it intuitively. So I'll just let, whatever messages come through just flow, and hopefully they'll give you some sort of guidance and clarity. Okay, so the first two cards out are the Four of Cups and the Hierophant card. So what I'm getting from these cards is that some of you are heavily reflecting on the past, and you may be wanting to rekindle something with someone from your past. But what I'm picking up is that even though you want to rekindle something, you're not trying to have the same type of connection that you had with them before. It's almost like you just want to make peace and be at least cordial or on speaking terms, if that makes sense. So for example, it could be that you were with a romantic partner and things fell apart, like things just didn't work out, you weren't compatible, whatever the case may be. You could be reflecting back on this situation, and maybe you don't want to be with them romantically. Like you're not thinking like, wow, I want another chance to be with them. You're more so thinking like, wow, I wish that we could have at least been friends. Like you may miss the friendship more than the actual romantic connection. See what I'm saying? So it's almost like if you wanted to go speak to them or rekindle something, you wouldn't be trying to be with them romantically because you know that ship has sailed. But instead you would want to try to at least be associates or at least be on speaking terms. And you see what I'm saying? It's like missing the friendship more than anything else. And with the Hierophant card being here in reverse, like I said, a lot of you have already accepted that this situation cannot be committed the way that you saw it before. Like it's just not the same, and that's why you're not really reflecting on trying to respark things and have them the same way as before, because it's just, it wouldn't work. It's like missing the friendship or wanting to at least clear the air. See what I'm saying? What I'm hearing also with the Hierophant is that for a lot of you, for those of you who have come to terms with the fact that it won't work, hold on one second, that message is coming through kind of confusing. Oh, okay. I think this is a message for those of you who you're reflecting on the past about this person, and you could be a bit confused, like about why all of a sudden you want to reconnect with them or why you want a friendship with them. Like you could be kind of thinking like, wait a minute, is this some type of like subconscious way of trying to hold on to them? Am I still in love with them? It's like that sort of thing. But I think you're going to come to the awareness that you're actually not, because they don't fit into the mold of the commitment that you once had with them anymore. So it's kind of like when you meet someone and you both plan on being with each other long term, you're making that commitment based off of your perception of each other at the time. Certain events happen, certain events unfold that changes your perception of the person. So now they no longer fit in that commitment that you made to each other, because now your perception of each other is different. See what I'm saying? And that can happen in different ways. It could be that someone was deceitful and you're like, wow, I see your true colors and I can't trust you. So therefore the commitment that we're building, we can never have, because in that specific commitment, I committed to a trustworthy person and you've proven to not be that. So now I can't have that commitment with you. Or if it's not anything sinister like that, it could be like you two just growing and evolving. Like maybe when you first started dating, you had certain ideals, certain ways of thinking, certain ways of doing things. And as you grow and evolve as a person, maybe you grew and evolved apart, because that commitment that you made with each other, it's now kind of broken, because you're both you're both two different people, so you don't fit into that box. So that's the message that's wanting to come through for some of you who are kind of confused about like, wait a minute, should I respark this, or why am I still thinking about this? It's like, just kind of keep that message in mind, that this is one of those things where the commitment does not match up with the current perception, so don't try to force it. But for a lot of you, I think that you already have come to terms with that, and you really are just missing the friendship overall. And I'm hearing that you might have a chance and an opportunity to make peace. I'm going to pull one more just to clarify those two. Oh, okay. I'm hearing for some of you that this message may specifically apply to those of you who are kind of confused about your religious background. I'm hearing that some of you may be moving away from a certain strict religion, or moving away from a certain cultural norm, something along those lines that you're realizing is no longer serving you. For some of you, 2019 was like this year of you really seeing that what you've been raised on, like your religion, your culture, and things like that, you're starting to see how detrimental some of it is. So this may be a time period where you're kind of reflecting on it, because in 2020 you may be moving away from it. Let me pull one more. And I'm hearing, I know these messages are going to be kind of all over the place. I'm also hearing that for those of you who that does apply to, like if you are someone who is kind of confused about your religion or your culture or some sort of like family tradition, your family's way of doing things, like if you're kind of like reflecting back on that and you're seeing how it was detrimental to you, I'm hearing that, I'm hearing the phrase, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think that's the term. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, meaning just because you get rid of some sort of negative way of doing things, don't throw it out completely, meaning keep the positives from it. So an example, let's say that you were raised by abusive parents, right? Or you were raised by parents who just were very neglectful, and it kind of turned you into a people pleaser, right? It's nothing wrong with saying, okay, I don't want to be a people pleaser anymore. People walk all over me. Like I'm going to heal and not be this way. That's great. But don't throw away all of the people pleasing tendencies, because there are some positive aspects to it. Like your ability to be very nurturing, your ability to be very selfless in a way that is very rare. Your ability to kind of guess what people are going to need before they even know what they're going to need. And that can be something that's very beneficial for you in your relationships, your connections, and even in business. So whatever it is that you're getting rid of, whether it's like a thought pattern or, like I said, a religious practice or something about culture or family, just make sure that you're not throwing the whole thing away. Like make sure that you are throwing the negative aspects away and keeping the positive aspects there, because those are a gift to you. I'm going to pull one more. Also, I'm hearing be patient with yourself, because whatever this process is, it's going to take work and effort. It's not something that can just be changed overnight. And that goes for, like I said, the religious messages and the cultural, stuff. But that also goes for the first messages about wanting to rekindle a friendship and things like that. This is something that you're going to have to work at if you do choose to rekindle a friendship or make peace with someone, because I'm seeing that either you're going to have to work to rekindle that friendship, like both of you are going to have to get on the same page, especially if you had like a very nasty falling out. It would be work on both ends for you to even rekindle any type of friendship. But also it'd be personal inner work, because obviously if you split from someone, something went wrong. And when you kind of reconnect with them, certain things could start to come up again, certain things that you may have forgot that happened, or like you thought you healed from, can come up. And so it's like there's some sort of inner work that may need to be done if you choose to rekindle something with someone from your past, even if it's just on a friendship level. Yep, Lovers in reverse. Some of you are just feeling really pulled and feeling really compelled to reach out to this past person. And I want to remind you again that it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could also be like a friend that you had a falling out with, or a family member. Some of you are feeling really compelled to reach out, and I feel like it's your intuition telling you to. I think that you have buried a lot of things that happened between you and this person, and you buried it to kind of move on with your life. Like one of those things where someone hurts you and you try to do the out of sight, out of mind thing, where you just disappear on them or they disappear on you. But the wounds are never fully examined or healed. And then when that person kind of pops back up into your life, or you meet someone who reminds you of that person, those wounds, come to the surface again. So that may be exactly what's happening. Like your intuition may be guiding you to go ahead and rekindle. Use your discernment on this, of course. But yeah, it's going to take some sort of inner work that needs to be done anyway, because you need to be able to release this. There's a reason why your mind keeps drifting back to the past. It's unfinished business. So with the Queen of Cups being here and the Four of Swords being here, some of you may struggle or may have struggled with codependency. With the Queen of Cups being here, this person from your past, or this reflecting back on this past situation, you could be seeing how codependent it was. You could be seeing that, if you're not seeing this, maybe you're being guided to see this intuitively, that this codependency is like your comfort zone. So some of you could be just really reflecting on the past. And like I said, it's unfinished business. And I feel like that's what the unfinished business is. Some of you may have codependent tendencies, or there may have been a codependent pattern in this connection, I'm also hearing that the other person may have been codependent on you as well. So it goes both ways. For some of you, being codependent on another person is normal or comfortable for you because of your upbringing and because of the things that you've been through, you know. No shame at all. We don't shame on this channel. Because of the things that you've been through, codependency and becoming very like hooked onto a person romantically, or a friendship. You can be codependent on a friend as well, or family. It's like that's been your comfort zone for so long, and some of you are just realizing that that pattern has to change if you want to build something stable for yourself in terms of building stable connections, stable relationships, building a stable, healthy sense of self and self-esteem. Like, you're realizing that the codependent tendencies have to be transformed, and that's why your mind keeps drifting back to this past situation to kind of get that message across to you. Now, with the other side of it, this past person could have been codependent on you. So you can have a bit of, what is it called, broken bird syndrome, meaning that you may have had a tendency to attract people who were kind of broken, and they end up kind of being codependently attached to you and leaning on you for their sense of self-esteem. Or it could be, I'm hearing that it could be someone that has just been through a lot in life, and you give them some sort of comfort, but then it turns sort of into enabling to the point where they don't have to transform or heal their wounds because they're codependently attached and leaning on you, if that makes sense. For some of you, I'm hearing that you've gone into isolation, and you've been in isolation for a while, and you're thinking that your codependency is healed because you're isolating yourself, and that's not the case. And that's a very common misconception. A lot of people do think like, all right, just stay single, you know, stay single, and that means that you've done the work, and that's just not true. Because if you choose, let's say that you've been codependent for years and years and years, and you get out of a relationship, and then you stay single for 2 years, right? Some people might say like, wow, like you must have really broke that cycle. Like, you went from always having a spouse to not having one for 2 years. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean the codependent tie is broken. It could very well mean that now you're operating from a place of fear and isolation. So it depends on what you're doing with that time alone. Just because you remove yourself from a situation doesn't mean that that pattern doesn't still exist in you, and it could wake back up again. Like, your codependency can be very dormant if you are not actively healing it. And then 2 years later, you're like, all right, I feel like I've been single for 2 years. I'm ready. I'm going to go out and date. And then boom, you fall into another codependent relationship. And you're like, how the hell did this happen? And it's because there was no healing really being done. It was more just staying away based off of fear. So just keep that in mind, because some of you, I feel like, are in isolation. And that's something that you're needing to examine. Like, what are you doing during your time in isolation? Especially if you're isolating yourself to the point where you have no connections, like you're not going out on casual dates at all, or you're not even hanging out with friends. Be very careful. Be very careful, because you don't want to swing to the opposite extreme of going from being codependent to being too independent. That is a word. I mean, that is a thing. I mean, it's a thing, because human beings, we are social creatures. We need to feel connected. You know, studies show that if you are in isolation and you don't have anyone around you that loves you, like, people like that tend to kind of die earlier, or like their life expectancy is lower than people who have loved ones. You see what I'm saying? So just be careful of that. Of course, you do want to remove any type of negative connections from your life so that you won't be codependently attached, or the other person won't be. But what you don't want to do is think that going into isolation is going to heal you, because in reality, it could just end up hurting you. It goes from one extreme to the other, is what I'm seeing. Because you're worthy of, cards fell. You are worthy of having healthy connections and healthy love in your life, so you don't have to necessarily isolate yourself. It's all about just learning how to set boundaries and taking things slowly. I would actually recommend trying to get out and mix and mingle while you're healing from codependency, because it's going to teach you a lot of important skills when it comes to connecting to people and how to set those healthy boundaries and things like that. You know, you can sit and read about it and like, how do I set boundaries? How do I heal from codependency and things like that? But there's nothing like experience. So making, you know, new friends and, you know, just kind of casually making new connections, nothing too deep. It can kind of teach you or kind of help you as you're on this path of healing this codependency. With the Page of Cups being here, and the Six of Swords being here as well. Yeah, some of you are just having some sort of emotional rebirth. Because like I said, I think that the way that you have handled your emotions is like you've been forced to kind of change it. So again, going back to that example of codependency, you're now seeing that, okay, I have to change my way of attaching to people. You know, I have to, it's almost like some of you are realizing you have to kind of start over, like reparent yourself, because you didn't learn how to attach to people in a healthy way. There's like some sort of emotional stagnancy here, which again, no shame at all, because that's no fault of your own. I mean, you didn't raise yourself, you know? So yeah, it's kind of like now you're getting the opportunity to raise yourself. I'm hearing like second childhood for a lot of you. 2020 might be the year that you do get in touch with your inner child fully, and it's kind of like you get to raise yourself all over again. Yeah, 2020 is going to be a very, very prosperous for a lot of people, especially people who have been struggling, who've been, you know, dealing with childhood trauma, childhood wounds, and things of that sort. I'm feeling like a lot of people are going to get the opportunity to have a second childhood. And I'm seeing here that for some of you, this is going to be a bit overwhelming at first, because it's just different. Any energy that is like different or opposing what you're used to is going to feel uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that you're going in the wrong direction. It just means that it's uncomfortable because you just haven't done it before. And excuse me, and going back to the example of the codependency, you know, let's say that you start dating casually and you're like, I don't really feel that, like, that intense spark with this person or with these people. Like maybe I'm doing something wrong. And that's not the case. It could very well be that you're used to that intense spark, because that's usually a byproduct of connections that start out really strong and then burn out even faster. You know, usually a codependent, narcissistic sort of connection sometimes can start out with that big bang. And it's like we get so used to it that we associate that with this is love, you know? And when we start dating in a quote unquote healthy way, we could feel a spark with someone, but because it's not explosive, we're like, I'm doing something wrong, because this doesn't feel like it's supposed to feel. And you're not doing anything wrong, and it doesn't feel how it used to feel because you're having a different way of doing things. But that spark and that passion can still be there, but it builds up over time instead of it being like that one huge firework event when you meet like someone who is possibly that you're moving too fast with. I hope that makes sense. So just take things slowly. Don't think that you're doing something wrong just because things just feel a little different. Just kind of stay the course and everything will become second nature is what I'm hearing. Let me pull one more. I'm hearing wishes too with this Page of Cups. Oh, okay. I know exactly what I'm hearing. Some of you have been putting off something that you've been wishing to do for a long time, and it's going to keep bombarding you and disrupting your peace pretty much until you do it. It's going to keep nagging at you until you do it. Like if there's like, maybe you wanted to start a business in 2019 and you didn't do it for whatever reason, in 2020, or even in the upcoming weeks, I should say, it's going to be nagging at you. And I feel like it already has been. Like you may have been getting like signs from the universe, like randomly an ad pops up like, hey, do you want to start a business? Here's some tips. And you're like, wait, what the hell? How did this pop up in my suggested feed? I wasn't watching anything related to this. It's like that sort of thing, like the universe kind of nudging you. And the job thing or the entrepreneur example is just an example. This, just take it and apply it to your life, whatever this may be. It could be anything that you've been wanting to start on, and it's something that you wish for, and you have to put the work in to get it. And your intuition is going to keep on nagging at you until you do it. Let me pull one more. Yeah, whatever this is that you have been wishing for, if you go towards it, it's going to help your self-esteem skyrocket. So if you've been having problems with self-esteem and self-confidence, if you can push through that fear and actually move towards fulfilling this dream or this wish, it's literally going to make your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and your self-respect skyrocket is what I'm hearing. And that's why your intuition is nudging you, because your intuition, like, is spiritually, put it this way, your higher self knows that going towards this is going to be very beneficial for your life, and it's going to help with your self-esteem and things of that sort. And that's why your higher self keeps nudging you towards it, even though you feel very hesitant is what I'm seeing. For some of you, I think it's for a small group of you, this involves being, this involves some sort of public recognition as well. You might have a wish to be in the public eye, or you might have a wish that involves like other people showing you a great deal of respect, is what I'm hearing. And for some of you, that's why you may be so afraid or so hesitant to take that leap, because it's like other people are going to be depending on you. I'm hearing for some of you, this could be a child. Like you've always wanted to start a family, you wanted to have a child, and you feel like it's the right time, but it's scaring you because you know that you know how big of a responsibility that actually is, which of course it is a huge responsibility to have a child. So I feel like you should take that approach. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's like something about knowing the weight of the responsibility. But like I said, I think this is a good thing, because at least you're aware that whatever this wish is, it's going to have an impact on not just you, but other people. So that's a good thing that you're aware and that you're a bit hesitant, but you have to push through that fear eventually so that you can manifest what you want, is what I'm saying. Like, for example, let's say that you want to be a YouTuber, right? And you want to give advice. You may be thinking like, okay, I already know what comes with the territory. You know, there's going to be certain people who don't agree with the advice, or there may be critics, or I don't want to give people the wrong advice and mislead them. It's like that sort of thing. And I think that it's not wrong to have those thoughts. At least you're thinking ahead. You know what I'm saying? You think about how you can impact people, which is a good thing. Again, I feel like that goes back to what I was saying before about some of you being people pleasers and things like that, and you're able to anticipate people's needs. This is what I mean when I say that's a good thing. Like, you think ahead before you just dive out, especially dive in or jump off the cliff. It's like you think very far ahead because you don't want to impact anyone else's life negatively. This could be that you've been wishing for a relationship and you've been trying to heal past traumas and things like that, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I know that once I get into a relationship, it doesn't just affect me, it affects the other person too. I don't want to enter someone's life and cause any type of distress, so I need to make sure that I'm, you know, feeling up to it, like that I've healed those past wounds so I won't impact them negatively. You see what I'm saying? It's a good thing to think ahead like that and prepare yourself so that you are protecting yourself and the people around you. But it turns into stagnancy when you're letting fear kind of keep you from taking that first step or making that leap. See what I'm saying? So in 2020, some of you are going to be making that leap for sure, towards something that you have wished for a very, very long time, and you're going to be successful at it. You're going to succeed at it, even though it's going to feel very scary at first. But when you push through that, it's going to do wonders for your self-esteem. So, okay, I'm going to extend this on my Vimeo channel. We'll dive deeper into each of these messages. So thank you so much for watching this video, Earth Signs. And again, the link will be in the description box down below. And I'll see you over on Vimeo. Bye. I'm also hearing that for some of you, there are certain people who you have been, oh wow, imprisonment card. Okay, there's certain people who you have been around for a while that are very used to you playing a certain role. And when you try to step outside of that role, it's going to make them very uncomfortable, and they're going to try to use fear as a tactic to keep you from elevating. Be very mindful of that. I feel like they would try to imprison your thoughts and things like that. I'm hearing that this is, wow, okay. For some of you, this is directly relating to that past person. Remember when I told you that, well, of course you remember, it was at the beginning of this reading, as if it was years ago that I told you this. When I said at the beginning of the reading that there's this person that you may want to reach out to or make amends with, I feel like that is something, I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe what I'm hearing. That's something that's going to be very beneficial for you. It's like it's going to help to put your thoughts to bed if you can make peace with this person. And it's almost like other people don't want you to. It's very bizarre. It's like other people for some reason don't want you to. There's some sort of spiritual attack or spiritual interference. It's very strange. This reminds me of like divine partners, and the story that goes along with it, that divine partners are meant to meet back up in this lifetime in order to help raise each other's frequency, or in order to bring certain traumas to the surface, help each other to heal and evolve. When I say help, I don't mean that in a codependent way. I mean they bring your traumas to the surface or your triggers. Sometimes you usually end up separating them from them for a short period of time, and then maybe you're being called intuitively to finally make amends. Like, it's time to finally make amends with this. And of course, if you were to make amends, that would cause your frequency to skyrocket, and that would cause you to really elevate on a spiritual level. And I feel like there are people who want to interfere with that. They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to heal. They don't want you to vibrate on a higher frequency. They want to keep you stagnant for some reason. So for some of you, this is like some Romeo and Juliet shit, like people trying to keep you apart from a specific person. Wow, very bizarre. Yeah, but I feel like that's specific for some of you. But the overall general energy is to just be very mindful of fearful or fear-based people trying to inflict fear onto you or into your heart because of who they are as a person, or because they don't want to see you elevate, because it's intimidating to them in some way, shape, or form. And if you are this person who it's intimidating to see someone that you know flourishing and it's causing negative feelings in you, don't beat yourself up for those feelings, and nor should you try to suppress them, because they're just going to end up coming out in self-destructive ways.